This is Talk the Home of Common Sense with me, Julia Hartley-Brewer. 12:37 is the time. Coming up, we're going to get Peter Cobble in the studio, talk presenter, of course, and political commentator. He's been watching PMQ, so we don't have to. Tell us about any highlights. Claire Pistol's still here. Get your thoughts on what my next guest has to say. He's Ben Habib, former MEP, of course, and former Deputy Leader of Reform UK. Very good afternoon to you, Ben.
Good afternoon, Julia.
Thank you very much for joining us. I do want to ask you about these plans for asylum seeker checks and something the Tories are looking at, something that I know people like you have been talking about for quite a long time. But I want to ask you first of all about what is going on with Reform UK. You've made it very clear in overtures to the likes of Rupert Lowe and others who are unhappy with Nigel Farage's leadership about possibly setting up a splinter group. You yourself were ousted from the deputy leadership when Zia Youssef was appointed chairman and Richard Tice became deputy. Do you think the problem in UKIP, such as there is a problem, is Nigel Farage, or is the problem Rupert Lowe?
Well, I think you know the answer. The problem is Nigel Farage. And, I've been biting my lower lip on saying that ever since I became aware of the problems with him because of his huge public persona. The easiest way to be trammeled in public opinion is to go up against someone like Nigel Farage, who commands the airwaves so competently, who's such a phenomenal campaigner. But the underlying and sad truth about Nigel Farage, and there are two truths here that need to be revealed, if they haven't already been revealed through the Lowe fracas, is that, first of all, Nigel is a narcissist and can't bear anyone sharing the limelight with him, coming remotely close to his sort of levels of popularity. And I think Elon Musk's endorsement of Rupert Lowe would have been, very damaging for Rupert. That's the first problem. And then the other problem, which I think is much more fundamental for the country, is Nigel isn't really one of us. He's not someone who believes in a sovereign, independent, prosperous United Kingdom. And you may roll your eyes at that.
I can't even understand why you're saying, why do you think, what does not one of us means and why doesn't he believe in that? He literally spent his entire adult life campaigning for that.
Absolutely. That was a convenient campaign. Now, this is going to sound very strange, and I knew you'd challenge me on it. It's going to sound very strange. It was a perfectly convenient campaign to fight because it gave him precisely what he wants, which is a flogging horse, if you like, while he maintains created initially his persona and then, used it to create a living for himself. But if you listen very carefully to what Nigel Farage has been doing in the last 6 months, he's pivoted unashamedly towards the centre ground, adopting, when I say the centre ground, by the way, there's no left or right. The left basically believe in the liberal global order, part of international institutions, dumbing down of our democracy, and the ridiculous extreme form of liberalism that we experience called woke. That's the left. And on the right, we have democratically minded people who believe in nation state sovereignty and democracy, etc. And Nigel is moving towards the left. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, he recruited a Liberal Democrat councillor. He put Charlie Mullins forward as a candidate. Charlie Mullins, just to remind people, is an avowed Remainer, still is an avowed Remainer. He said no jab, no job. That's an affront to people on our side of the debate.
I absolutely. There's no way that Chris Mullins should have a place in Reform. But hold on a second. Yeah. Okay, no, for start.
But I can give you more examples.
Okay,
So, Nigel's on the record saying he's not worried about the rate of demographic change in the country, that mass deportations of illegal migrants, he's against it. He's on the record saying a united Ireland is inevitable. That means he doesn't actually understand what the democratic unit of the United Kingdom of Great Britain is. And he says Brexit's done, when actually it's not done. We've left Northern Ireland behind, and we're hitched at the hip with the EU in so many different ways.
Let me come back to you, because I'm sure what he would say in a lot of these cases, and again, a lot of this would be my view as well, that actually, look, for a start, he could have made a lot more money just staying in the city as a trader rather than as an MEP. Okay, well, that's fine.
He'd be out of a job by now because it's all been automated.
Well, yeah, but I think he probably would have made a lot more over the years beforehand. But either way, you say centre ground. Now, one of the battles between him and Rupert Lowe was that Rupert Lowe saying, I want to talk about, mass deportations. Now, again,
exactly.
I don't know why anyone should be opposed to mass deportations of people who've got no right to be here. It seems to me to be blatantly obvious. I think people are crazy not to support that. However, there is that argument about needing to not be a protest group, something that Rupert Lowe also criticised. We need to not just be a protest group led by the Messiah, were his words in the Mail, which apparently seemed to rile Nigel Farage. But the point is that, You need to appeal more widely, talking constantly non-stop about immigration is not the way to do that. You need to widen your appeal. You've already got those votes in the bag. You need to widen your appeal because that is how you win elections. That's not selling out. That's just a reality check, isn't it?
No, I completely agree with you that you don't have to bang on about immigration once you've made your policy on it clear. But Nigel's actually changed his policy on it, or if he ever had a policy of mass deportation, he's repudiated it. If he ever was concerned about the dramatically changing demography in this country, which he should be, he's changed his view on it. And so it's actually Nigel Farage who's coming forward and trashing his own narrative by saying things which, frankly, as I say, people on our side of the debate find an affront. It's Nigel who's doing the damage. Yes, we must talk about the economy. We must talk about deregulation. We must talk about ditching net zero, liberating British businesses, promoting the working class. All these things are incredibly important issues. But it's Nigel who keeps saying things that are actually damaging his own position.
There is the argument, though. No, but Ben, there is the argument that say, like Donald Trump. Donald Trump had a very strong message to send about immigration and mass deportations, and also about anti-woke. But at the end of the day, cost of living, cost of living, cost of living. It's how pound in the pocket. Yeah. It's people's quality of life that matters to people, and it's about talking about those things. Well, here's the thing. We know there are big egos involved. Rupert Lowe's got a big...
Not about...
Let me finish. Rupert's got a big ego. He's been a very successful businessman. That's why he's very good at what he does. And Nigel Farage's got a big ego. Of course he does. You've got a big ego. Loads of the people have got big egos. However, here's the thing. Nigel Farage is reform. At the end of the day, the party isn't anything without him. Isn't this a case of, you know what, a load of big egos, a load of men, you need to suck it up for the common good, and you're not going to get everything you want, and not every party platform is going to be exactly what you want, but you're going to have to be, okay, you may not want to be as broad a church as the Conservatives, because that's everything from far left to the centre ground, but you might want to be a broader ground than you are, and you actually accept that there are going to be some things you don't agree on, some things you don't like that are said, but if you want to do the job of actually providing a proper, viable, alternative government in waiting for the British people to get sensible policies on immigration, on crime, on woke and all of that, you need to suck it up and put your egos aside.
No, it's nothing to do with egos. You said it yourself. Nigel Farage is reform. Reform is Nigel Farage. Unless that can change, unless reform is able to take on a number of other Samsons and stand them tall to make the case that needs to be made for a 180-degree change in the governance of this country, across the board, economically, socially, culturally, constitutionally, democratically, all of that, you need champions. You need people who are more than just a sycophant to Nigel Farage. And the problem
not being a sycophant.
No, I haven't finished.
Okay.
I let you speak, Julia. At the moment, reform is seen as Nigel Farage, and Nigel Farage is reform. They are one and the same thing. And that is an unsustainable position for a party that wishes to form a government. You've got to have other big players in it, and Nigel will not allow that to happen.
I agree you need other big players, but at the end of the day, you have to toe the party line. It doesn't matter how big a beast you are.
It doesn't matter. The party line is damaging to the interests of the United Kingdom. He's putting Charlie Mullins forward as a candidate. He's got Nick Candy. On the day Nick Candy was appointed treasurer, he was singing the praises of Tony flipping Blair and that other idiot, Peter Mandelson, two architects of the liberal global order that has so damaged this country.
Well, you can argue that. You can argue that, but an awful lot of people who could likely vote for reform may well have voted for Tony Blair back in '97. So they got elected.
And they recognise that as a mistake. Nick Candy is still banging the drum for Tony Blair. Anyone who thinks Tony Blair is anything other than the devil to the United Kingdom is missing the point.
Well, then I'm missing the point, because I don't think Tony Blair is the devil, and I disagree with lots of things that he did.
Julia, we need to sit down over a long drink over that.
But this is the thing, Ben, is that, okay, there's this purist side of things. You want to be
like... It's not purist.
That ain't going to get you elected. It's not going to get you into power.
I totally disagree. Where the British public are is that they want unashamed policies to save the United Kingdom.
I'm all for that.
Well, it doesn't come from taking the centre ground. It comes from doing what Donald Trump did, which is saying it exactly as it is, having a broad tent and taking people from your movement into that tent. Nigel has done neither of those. He's pivoting to the centre ground and he's getting rid of people who've actually got the fearless, brave thinking required to save this country.
I've got another one I've got to take in and give them a good old bang to their head when I have my meeting with them all. Ben Habib, it's great to talk to you. We didn't even get... I know you're sensible on the asylum seekers, finding out who they are seems like a good idea. Former MVP, former deputy leader of Reform UK. Again, I've got a lot of time for all of these people. I think they're incredibly brave people. They're speaking sense. But I think the purist thing ain't gonna fly with the voters.
No, it really isn't. And do you know what the other problem is that there are an awful lot of egos for very different reasons. No women to bring that testosterone level down a bit and put some common sense there. That's your job.
Deep sighs, everybody. Claire, it's been fabulous having your company. Thank you very much.